She's still not married at her age.
Grace, you spent 67 years on Earth, and you never heard anyone say the words, "I choose you." Not a husband, not a partner, nobody. And you carried that silence like a wound that never fully closed. I want you to stand here today because I have something to say about that silence. Something nobody on earth ever told you.
Lord, I tried. I waited. I prayed for years. I asked you for a companion and the answer never came. I just want to know why. I just want to understand why you gave everyone around me something you never gave me.
I know what you carried, Grace. Every prayer. Every night you fell asleep to silence. Every wedding you attended with a smile. That cost you more than anyone in that room ever knew. I know all of it. And today, I will answer every question you were too afraid to ask me while you were still alive.
Grace Amaro Conquer, age 67, born the eldest of 5 children in a household where love existed, but resources did not. You stepped into a mother's role for your siblings at age 9 when your mother fell ill. You cooked, you cleaned, you sacrificed your own childhood quietly so theirs could continue. Age 22, your first real chance at love, a man who saw you, who chose you, who asked you to stay, and you left him because your youngest sister needed someone to put her through school and there was nobody else. You chose her future over yours without a single moment of self-pity.
I never regretted that. I want that on the record. I never once regretted choosing her.
Age 31. You stopped praying for a husband and started praying for purpose instead. You moved into a community where nobody else wanted to go. You spent the next 36 years teaching children who had nothing, feeding families who had less, sitting with the dying when their own relatives had gone home. You buried neighbors. You named orphans. You gave your salary, your savings, your weekends, your energy. And the years that most women spent building a home, you gave all of it to people who could give you nothing in return. You went to bed alone every night of your adult life and woke up every morning and chose it again.
I didn't choose the loneliness. I just chose the work. The loneliness came with it, and I learned to carry it.
Grace, faithful, selfless, beautiful Grace. Can I tell you what your life actually was? It was incomplete. You were incomplete. Every culture on earth, every tradition, every family table you ever sat at told you the same thing. And you spent 67 years pretending it wasn't true. A woman without a husband is a woman without a covering. A woman without children is a woman without a legacy. You poured yourself into other people's families because you could not build your own. And when you died, there was nobody at your bedside who called you mother. Nobody who carried your name forward. Nobody who...
There were 11 children at my bedside when I died. 11. Not one of them came from my body. Every single one of them came from my life. I taught them to read. I fed them when their parents couldn't. I held them through fevers and failures and the kind of darkness children should never have to navigate alone. You want to tell me those children are not my legacy. You want to stand here and tell me that a name on a birth certificate is the only thing that makes a life matter.
But you were lonely, Grace. Don't stand here in eternity and pretend you weren't lonely. Those quiet Friday nights, those Christmas mornings, the specific silence of a house that never had anyone in it who chose to be there. The prayers that felt like they bounced off the ceiling and came back unanswered. I was there in that silence too. And I used every second of it to tell you that God had overlooked you, that you were somehow less, that the life you were living was a consolation prize. And part of you believed me. You know you believed me, because you cried in ways you never showed anyone. And those tears were mine. I put them there because a woman who feels overlooked by God is a woman I can work with.
Grace, do you remember Psalm 56-8? I told you in my word that I keep track of all your sorrows. I have collected all your tears in my bottle. I have recorded each one in my book. Every Friday night, every Christmas morning, every wedding where you smiled until your face hurt, every prayer that felt like silence. I was not silent, Grace. I was collecting. Everything you thought I missed, I kept.
But why? Why did you let me go through all of it alone? If you saw every tear, why didn't you just send someone? One person. Juan. Was I not worth that? Was there something wrong with me that I could never see that made me someone you couldn't give that to?
There was nothing wrong with you. There was never anything wrong with you. 1 Corinthians 7:34. An unmarried woman is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how she can please the Lord. I did not withhold a husband from you as punishment. Grace, I entrusted you with something rarer than a good marriage. I entrusted you with undivided devotion, a heart that had nowhere else to go but toward me and toward the people I placed in your path. You asked me for a companion for years, and what you did not know was that I was answering that prayer every single time a child sat in your classroom and felt safe for the first time. Every time a dying neighbor held your hand and was not alone. Every time you chose the work over the comfort you could have had. I was the companion in every act of service, in every sacrifice. I was there. You were never alone. You only felt alone. And feeling and truth are not always the same thing. Matthew 25-40. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Grace Amara Okonkwo. You fed me hungry. You clothed me cold. You sat with me dying. You taught me illiterate. You held me when I was a child with no one. 67 years, 36 of them poured out in a place where nobody celebrated you. No ceremony, no ring, no title, no applause. Just a woman and her God and the work they did together in the quiet. That is not a consolation prize. That is one of the purest lives I have ever witnessed. And I want you to hear this clearly before you take another step into what I have prepared for you. You were not overlooked. You were specifically chosen for a specific work that a married life would not have had room to contain. I did not forget your name, Grace. I called it before the foundation of the world.
If you have been carrying the shame of being unmarried, and this broke something open in you today, type I am not overlooked in the comments. Share this with every person who has ever felt like their life is incomplete because they are still alone. Like if God's answer to Grace answered something in you too. Subscribe because this channel speaks truth to the people the world forgets to see. She never wore a wedding dress, never heard her name called by someone who had chosen her in front of witnesses, never woke up to another person's breathing beside her. She carried that silence for 67 years, and she carried it without bitterness, which was the harder miracle of the two. She gave away every year the world told her she should have spent building her own life. She poured herself into children who were not hers, families that were not hers, a community that had no idea what it cost her to show up every single day and keep choosing them over the life she had quietly grieved. And she stood before God with empty hands and a full record. And God told her what nobody on earth ever thought to say. You were not forgotten. You were chosen for something that required exactly the life you lived. The loneliness was real. The grief was real. The nights were long and the silence was heavy, and none of that gets erased. But so was the work, and so was the presence of God in every single moment of it. She was never alone. She only felt alone. And when she finally heard the truth she had been waiting 67 years to hear, she wept, not from pain this time, from the specific relief of a burden finally set down by the only hand strong enough to take it. If you have been carrying what grace carried, put it down today. You are not incomplete. You are not overlooked. You are not less. You are exactly where a God who keeps every tear has always known you to be.